right. So it says we're live. Never done this before, so hopefully we are. Looks like we have one person tuning in right now. One person's a success in my book. All right. Well, okay. Now there's 0 people. 1 person back again. All right. So I was unable to figure out a way to get my iPad screen captured up on here. So this first live stream, we're just going to be doing a little bit of a Q&A. You can ask me questions about art career stuff, whatever things you want to ask me. Hi, Twilight Wolf 1994. Nice to have you in. But yeah, so we're going to be doing a quick Q&A for a little bit, and then next time I'm going to see. I can't do like a screen capture of my iPad for YouTube Live, but I think what I can do is maybe rig something up where I have like a camera coming down and you can see my iPad. I don't know how the exposure will work or if you'll even be able to see what I'm drawing. But we'll see. If not, I might in the future also try just recording myself drawing from my sketchbook, and you guys can make requests or ask any questions there, because then I can just set up a camera and just draw on actual paper. So we'll see how it goes for the future. But for now, we got some more people pouring in. Awesome. For now, we're just going to do a Q&A for this first video, and you can ask me whatever you want about anything. It could be anything from how I got started to how you can get started, whatever you're interested in knowing. And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, just to give you an idea of what I want the future schedule to be like, I think I'm going to do this every week at the same time on Friday, so that it can be reliable. You know when to tune in if you want to come join us. And also, I'm going to keep doing some more tutorial videos. I'm also going to just do some videos that I like doing myself, which are just like me drawing and doing fun things, challenges from you guys. And then also I want to do a little bit kind of current events in regards to the art world. So, reviewing Procreate updates, new drawing software that comes out, stuff like that. So you guys can see and get some different feedback on those things. So still no questions. You guys are killing me. I guess you know everything you ever wanted to have answered. I guess I would assume that you believe I could answer it. So maybe that's not true. All right, well, I'll ask you guys a question. You can put it in the chat. When it comes to drawing and painting digitally, what do you feel like is the hardest thing to find information on online when you're trying to learn something new, or what topic in particular do you feel like you have a really hard time finding good, solid tutorials or information on, so that I could do, make a video or a series of videos potentially regarding that subject? I'd really like to know that, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Drop in the chat if you have an answer. Wow, it's like a freaking ghost town. Anyone? Matthew Stoops, don't leave me hanging. All right. No one. Oh, we got one. Let's see what people say. Have your ultimate guided creature design. I love it. Could you do a review on Art Rage? Totally. Let me write these down, actually. You know what? I can just take a screenshot of these. Yeah, Art Rage. Never used it before. Totally willing to do a review of it, see how I like it. I mostly use Procreate and Photoshop, and those work fine, so I've never really gone outside that, but more than willing to try it. What brushes I use? Yeah, I could do a video on that. Actually, I already have a video on that, but I can go a little bit more in depth. However, I will say this, that I know people hate hearing this, and you probably heard it before, but it really doesn't matter that much what brushes you use. It's mostly it's mostly just comes down to skill of painting. I mean, you can really paint a good painting with just about any brush. It just depends, but nothing wrong with using different brushes. I love Procreate, but do you use a vector app on the iPad? I haven't really found a good one. I used to do a lot of vector stuff when I used to do graphic design to kind of help supplement my income, but now that I don't really need to do that, I haven't done a lot of vector stuff in about a year or two. But yeah, I couldn't find a super good one on the iPad. There was, let me see if I can find it. There's an app by Adobe, what's it called? Adobe Draw, is that it? Yeah, Adobe Illustrator Draw. And that one's okay. I mean, it does some vector art and you can get some decent things. I think just using a desktop is better if you're going to do vector. So animal skull in the background. Which one? There's like a bunch of them. I guess you can't really see the smaller ones up there on my shelf. I have a bunch of smaller ones. And this one right here is a African lion, but it's not an actual skull. It's a cast of a lion skull, like a museum quality cast that I have up there just because I really think lions are cool and stuff like that. And then up here are a bunch of other animal skulls like coyote and possum and stuff like that, but they're all from like either roadkill or molds, or they're from like farms where they find, like, farmers will find like pests on their property that are killing their livestock, and then they send the skulls to be cleaned by like bone sellers. So that's where they're from. Let's see. In your course, Creature Creation, you talk about Terrell Whitlatch. I have researched her, and she's one of my favorite artists. And you talk about another one, but I can never hear it very well. I'm trying to remember. I made that course a long time ago, like a year and a half ago. Terrell Whitlatch is awesome. I really love her work. Some other ones that I really like would be Bobby Chiu. He does some really interesting, fun creatures. Bryn Metheny, maybe it was her that I was talking about. Bryn Metheny has some, I'll put those names in the chat so you can know how to spell them. I'm pretty sure I spelled them right. Hopefully. Those are two of my favorites. I've actually met Bryn, and she's super nice and really friendly, and we've kept in contact a little bit. So really recommend her creature stuff. Her and Terrell Whitlatch kind of remind me of each other a little bit. They have their own distinct style, but they're both really awesome. Let's see. Someone mentioned these Origin Critta. Been having a hard time finding tutorials on simulating oil painting techniques like wet and wet. Okay. Yeah, I would love to. I actually just barely tried experimenting with that the other day. If you saw the thumbnail from my last video, that was kind of my experiment. Actually, maybe I can just show you by holding my iPad up to the camera. I don't know if you can see that. It's really blown out. But I tried to do a little bit of a oil painting sort of style. And it was really fun. I'd love to do a video on that. Has a really unique look, and yeah, there's not that many videos on it. I remember looking for that when I was getting into digital painting as well. Could you critique some of my artworks? Yeah, so if you look in the description of any of my videos, it has an email that you can send it to, and I have a bunch of people that are in line. But if you send to that email, I will check it out and eventually get to you. How long did it take me to get pro on creature creation? Well, I mean, it's hard to say where like the line is between whether or not you're a pro. I mean, I don't know if you ever fully get there. You always are constantly doing more and more and more. And I think it's our practice. But really, for me, I still don't even know if now I would consider myself a pro, honestly, just because there's still so much more I know I can learn. But I think the point at which I started feeling a lot more confident in it is when I was, there's a point in college where I was just like skipping class a ton because I was just so disenfranchised with the whole thing. And instead I was spending hours and hours and hours every day just going through tons and tons of anatomy books and drawing tons of animal anatomy, skeletal structures, muscle structures, and just nonstop tons of animals, and then using that to create my own creatures. I think that's when I really started to feel like I was developing a sense of creature design And then when I got my hands on Terrell Whitlatch's books on creature design, I think that really helped as well. Copying a lot of the drawings in her book and like learning from her was really helpful. Let's see. Where are we at? What screen size do you use with Procreate? The biggest one, I can't remember what it is. It's a first generation iPad Pro, and the screen size is, I think, like, I can't remember. I don't know. It's the biggest one. And the canvas size when I paint, I usually do 11 by 15 inches, just so that, and at 300 DPI, just so that if I want to print it, it's big enough and high enough resolution that I can. Let's see. Do you work in other mediums like charcoal or sculpting, etc.? So I used to actually do a lot of watercolor. I'm pretty good at watercolor painting, and I used to do a lot of commission art, like painting. I would paint landscapes and like Western style art. For some reason, painting landscapes in watercolor has not translated very well into digital, and I just have the hardest time painting landscapes digitally. But I used to do it a lot for watercolor, and I'm pretty good at it. And then sketching in my sketchbook a lot using watercolors and inks and colored pencils and stuff. And then now I actually picked up the hobby of painting miniatures, and it's something I do at night, you know, to wind down. And I really enjoy that. And I want to get into sculpting. If you can see in the background, actually, right up, let's see, that right there, that green thing is my attempt at sculpting a skull, anatomically correct skull, and with a plastic bag over it to keep the clay moist. And this whole room back here is kind of like my little workshop studio space that I built in a really large walk-in closet in my office. So yeah, I'd love to get into some more of that stuff, just finding time. But let's see. Hi, thanks for the live. When I'm using Procreate for a huge drawing, I have so many layers, and I used to be stopped because of this. Do you have the same problem? So that's from Lolo Ferrari. So yes, the way that you can fix it is, one, if you have so many layers that it's causing a problem, it might be because of the iPad you have. It doesn't have enough RAM to hold all of that. Ways that you can get around that would be to make your canvas size smaller, because the bigger you make your canvas, the less room you're going to have for more layers. So make your canvas a little smaller. Also, the DPI, the higher the DPI, the less layers you can have, because it takes some more RAM. So if you bring that down a little bit, you'll be able to get more layers. And then as you're painting, I always try and merge layers as much as I can. If I feel like I'm at a point where I don't need 2 layers separate anymore, it's okay if they're one, I'll merge them together so that I have as much room to create more if I need to. Let's see. Hi, Loyal Hufflepuff. Let's see. From Konstantinos Christofi. I hope I said that right. I've been drawing mainly traditionally for the past year, and I recently tried digitally, both on Wacom and Android tablet. How do you draw with your shoulder digitally? All right, that's a really good question. So, it can be harder because when you're drawing traditionally, a lot of times you can be drawing on really big sheets of paper and have a ton of room to work with and really move your arm around. This is what it would look like if you're drawing a sheet of paper and drawing from the shoulder instead of the wrist. When you draw from the wrist, it's more like this sort of motion, and it's not going to be as smooth of lines. But when you're drawing from the shoulder, you have really big sweeping movements that really get smooth, clean line work. So when you're drawing digitally, if I was drawing on my iPad, for example, I don't know where my pencil went. It was somewhere on my table. Now it's gone. We use this actual mechanical pencil. There's one draw on it. When you're drawing digitally, it's similar, but you don't have as much room. But you can still move from your shoulder a little bit so that you're not doing this sort of motion as much. Drawing like this, and if you have it down, it helps if it's propped up, because when you have it flat like this, it can be kind of hard. So that's what I'd recommend. It takes practice. Another thing that can help that you can't do traditionally is that if you blow up the screen size, you can just zoom in on a particular part or zoom in really small so that you can get a lot smoother lines when you're doing your rough sketches, for example. So Beth Atkins, thank you for doing all this. Of course, thank you guys. Maybe you've mentioned this already, but what do you do for a living? Good question. So now I all of my income comes from my Udemy courses and YouTube ad revenue. So I don't really do any freelance stuff anymore unless it's a project that I really, really think is cool. Now I mostly work on my own projects that I'm interested in and developing my own skills. But if something comes along that I just think is too cool to pass up or really excites me, or the pay is just like super amazingly good, then I'll take that. But yeah, now I mostly just teach Udemy courses and do YouTube videos. And then I also am a advisor for a program called Praxis. It's like an alternative education program to college, where you do it's like a 3-month business boot camp on how to brand yourself and build a digital presence online. And then the last 9 months are like an apprenticeship program, like a paid apprenticeship at a startup. And I am the advisor in charge of helping participants create content for their online presence, whether that's blog posts or podcasts, YouTube videos. That's the other thing I do, but that's really, it's a small part-time, probably like a few hours a week. So that's not a huge part of it. But yeah, mostly just Udemy and YouTube, and then the occasional freelance gig. I'm looking at, I guess if I say it on here live now, I'm sort of committing to it. But I'm looking at actually creating and designing my own board game. Just something I'm interested in. I think it would be really fun. And I want to do all the art for it. And then also on top of that, learn how to digitally sculpt so I can sculpt some really cool miniatures for it. So let's see. Matthew, got to get back to your day job. Have a good day, my friend. Do you get inspired by other artists? Any favorites? Well, obviously, of course. I don't know how you could be an artist and not get inspired by other artists. But yeah, some of my favorites. I mentioned Bobby Chiu earlier. He's really who introduced me to digital painting. Before then, I didn't really know what it was or how art like that was created. But I started watching his YouTube videos and learning about him and seeing his art. And I was just like totally fascinated. And I remember when I was a kid, I was probably like 10 or 12 maybe. I sent him an email from his website as like a long shot of just like, how do I learn how to be a digital painter like you? It's so cool. And he actually sent me an email back and was super nice and gave me a really long thought out answer and some resources I could go to. And that was really cool for me. And that's kind of what sparked it. I think I didn't really start actually doing any sort of digital art until I got to high school. But yeah, Bobby Chiu is a big inspiration. Ian McCaig, oh man, if you don't know who Ian McCaig is, go check out his stuff. It's so cool. His book Shadowline, I thought was really awesome. And Terrell Whitlatch, who I mentioned earlier as well. I'm really big into creatures, and all those guys just had awesome artwork that really inspired me. And then now, I would say artists that inspire me a lot would be Adrian Smith. He does a lot of really awesome art. It looks really like classical looking almost, just fantastic. Knowledge of Smith is really cool. And I don't know, there's a lot. Jake Parker was a really good influence for helping me decide to like be kind of like a self-employed artist instead of working at a studio. And he's a really cool guy. So I'd say those people are up there. Let's see. I was going to go to college, but I saw how much money they wanted from me, and I didn't want to be in debt for the rest of my life. Yep, hear you there. College is crazy expensive these days. I like drawing dinosaurs. Me too. From where do you get the reference about dinosaurs? Pinterest has pictures, but many are from artists. That is a good point. It's not like you can look up references of like a lion or an elephant because there's photographs of them. We can go see them at the zoo or something. When it comes to dinosaurs, any picture you see of a dinosaur is going to be another artist's rendition of a dinosaur. So what I do is, well, when you're learning how to draw dinosaurs, it's okay to copy other artists. You can't pass it off as your own work, obviously, but that's a really great way to study and learn how to draw dinosaurs so that when you draw your own, you have a reference point to start from. What I do a lot of times when I'm drawing dinosaurs, I've drawn so many dinosaurs that I've kind of built up a mental library and I don't have to look at a lot of reference, but I still do sometimes. And one of the things I'll do is I'll find a skeleton of whatever the dinosaur is I'm going to draw so I get an idea of its proportions. You can exaggerate or do whatever you want with it. But get an idea of the skeleton, and then I'll look at reference photos from living animals like birds, reptiles, stuff like that. Even like fish or mammals to get patterning sort of like ideas for how I want their skin to look or their feathers if they're going to have feathers. and then kind of mash that all together around a skeleton to get my dinosaur. So yeah, that's what I do when I draw dinosaurs. Lolo asks again, and do you only use Procreate? Doing more professional, do you prefer some graphic tablet? I almost completely use Procreate, honestly. There's a small handful of things that don't really work super well on Procreate, but I mean, they're updating it all the time and adding tons of new features. So I'd suspect that, especially because Photoshop is releasing an iPad app that's like supposed to be pretty much full Photoshop on an iPad. I think once that happens, Procreate is going to have to step up their game in order to compete. Otherwise, a lot of people might just leave to do that instead, because Procreate's kind of like a clone of Photoshop, just without as many features. So, yeah, I mostly do that. Honestly, I tried a graphics tablet, like a big, nice one with a big screen on it that you plug into your computer, and I just really didn't like it that much. I've just been so used to drawing on my iPad and how convenient it is using tap gestures instead of having to use hotkeys on your keyboard. It just felt so much quicker and easier. So every now and then I'll use Photoshop if I have to. And there's an app that lets my iPad double as like a tablet for my computer if I'm using Photoshop. It's a little bit janky, so I don't use it super often. But when it's there for must-have situations, I use it. But I used to have a tablet. I just got rid of it because it took up a bunch of desk space and I wasn't using it. Let's see. If you are going to use one, though, the last part of your question, which one do you recommend? Wacom Cintiq. It's really expensive, but it's by far the best one. So save up, I guess. What board games do you like? I'm designing one too. Yeah, I really love board games. I like Rising Sun. In my opinion, you can see it right here, actually, right above my head. That's Rising Sun. Maybe I'll do a video showing the miniatures I painted sometime if there's any interest in that. But yeah, man, I love Rising Sun. That game is like a masterpiece of board gaming, in my opinion. Love Rising Sun. A lot of classics. Love Magic the Gathering, playing that with my buddies and my brothers. Dungeons and Dragons is a fun one. So, yeah, Rising Sun, though, I would definitely put at the top. All those games by I like Zombicide. If you ever heard of Zombicide, that one's great too. Let's see. Do you know any free drawing programs? I'm trying to remember. I know there's probably people in chat who could help you out with this more than I can. But probably just Google it, honestly. If you're using an iPad, I know there's Sketchbook by Autodesk, and I'm pretty sure there's a free version of that and then a paid version. Procreate's only like a few bucks. If you can, it's like $6 or $7, and it's totally worth it. So, I mean, that's like one meal. Just skip one meal, save up some money, get Procreate, beg your mom and dad, mow the lawn, whatever you have to do. Let's see. How do I make drawing look finished or make it look high def? Well, if you're just doing a drawing, I'm not sure what you mean by high def. That's going to depend on the resolution that you're drawing at. If you're doing a painting and you want to look like super realistic, maybe is what you mean. Using a lot of texture, really accurate lighting. You really need to understand how light works in order to make something look high def or photoreal, and you're going to need to paint it at a really high resolution, which is going to mean really large file sizes. So I think that's what you're asking. That's my best answer. What is the Procreate counterpart for an Android tablet? You know what? That is a good question. I don't really know, but that's a good idea for a video. I should find out. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't tell you, unfortunately, because I just use iPad. But I do know Procreate. Yeah, unfortunately, Procreate is not available on Android tablets, but perhaps something I can look into. You should make a book about your art. You know, I've thought about it, and maybe I probably will. I should. But one of the problems I feel like I have is every time I kind of start to assemble some art, I feel like I don't have a distinct enough style yet, or I feel like I'm learning so quickly. I love to learn new styles and just like experiment and try so many different things that it doesn't like look cohesive. And I don't know. I feel like I need to get to a point where I have a more cohesive body of work that clearly resonates in my art. Maybe we'll see. But thanks, appreciate it. Let's see. Rising Sun is great. Yes, it is. It is super fun. It's a beautiful game. And yep, someone said try Krita for free painting software. Yeah, I believe that is free. So give that a try. Well, it looks like there are no more questions. Anyone else have any more questions? Really quick while I'm waiting, then there wasn't a lot of people in here at the beginning, so I'll ask again. What do you feel like? What do you want to see me make videos on? What are some things that you feel like that you have a hard time finding resources on online? Maybe specific techniques or things that you feel like there's just not a lot of information out there. What sort of videos you want to see more of? You want to just see me paint, more live streams, more motivational stuff, artist interviews. What is it that you really like? Let me know in the chat what it is you're interested in, and I can try and do more of that. I'm going to probably try and do about a video a day. I'm not making any promises for the weekends or if something comes up, but I think I'm going to do about a video a day. So do you have some tips for drawing details? Yeah, so when you're drawing, it can be really easy to just jump right into the details first, and that is not the way you want to go. You want to start out really loose and simple, and then slowly work your way into the details. And when you start getting to the details, it can really help to zoom in. But also remember that not everything has to be shown with a line, right? So if you're drawing, it can be really easy to just draw lines around everything, outlines around each scale, outlines around each wrinkle, a lot of stuff. But a lot of detail is shown as texture. And so instead of just drawing lines, make marks to simplify and represent that texture. And you can make a drawing look really detailed that way. But I don't know, you'd have to send me some of your art. So, I mean, you can look in the description, send it to the critiques email, and I can look at it. But yeah, it's hard to give like a super definitive answer without seeing some of your work. So glad you've been learning stuff, Lolo. I like to hear stuff like that. I'd love to see some how to draw animal tutorials. Awesome. I can totally do that. I love drawing animals. Yeah, I was super into that. I made a whole course on creature concept art, and it's like my second or third least popular course. So I was like, oh, there's a bunch of people that said they wanted it, and I made it, and nobody wanted it. So maybe it's just a garbage course, or maybe it's just not as big as interest as people said. But I really enjoyed making it. It was my favorite one to work on. I love doing creature design. So maybe tips on take a good drawing into a great drawing. Ooh, that's a great idea. Thank you, Matt. That's a good one. But just to be clear, I mean, you guys keep saying drawing a lot. I'm assuming you mean painting, because there is a difference. So just to make sure that we're on the same page. And character also want to show how you draw skin tones. That's a good one. And so the course that I'm working on right now, I'm working on a course right now that will be out probably in a couple months because it's just so big. It's probably going to be 15, 20 hour range. And it's the ultimate guide to painting everything. And I'm just putting in as much stuff, texture studies, subject studies, like hands, feet, painting stone, different types of rock, all this stuff, like tons of stuff, animals. And I just never paint people that much. Like it's like when I have to, I do, but it's not that often. So yeah, I think that doing a skin tone one would be good for both of us, probably, because when you kind of teach something, it really cements it and you learn it a lot better. So yeah, animal tutorials, sweet. Cool. Well, I think that was really valuable. Carlos asks why. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Why do I like doing animals? Oh, there we go. Because I don't know. Good question. Why do you like your favorite food? It's hard to say. I don't know. Just ever since I was a kid, I thought animals were really cool. My favorite movie when I was like 4, my 2 favorite movies are Jurassic Park and Pinocchio. So I remember my friends would come over and I'd always watch Jurassic Park, and my mom would be like, "No, You can't watch it with them because that movie's too scary for them. And I'd be so confused, like, what? Why scary? What's scary about Jurassic Park? Because in my head, the dinosaurs weren't scary monsters; they were cool animals. And I remember running around the house pretending to be a velociraptor and eating my lunch like a velociraptor when I was a little kid. So, yeah, I don't know. Just that, I think it just came from when I was a kid. Love for animals. I was always super into playing outside. I lived in Arizona, so it's a desert, and people tend to think of deserts as really barren, but Arizona is full of wildlife. There's way more wild animals around my house when I lived in Arizona than where I live now in Utah, which is a lot greener. There's catching all sorts of, frogs, seeing rabbits. I remember seeing javelinas running around, tarantulas, all sorts of cool stuff. So I don't know. I just always thought it was really cool. And I think it was also, actually, I think this is a big part of it too, is that when you're starting to learn how to draw, when you draw people, it's really, really easy for someone who's not an artist, for anybody to look at a drawing of a human and see what's wrong with it. They can look at a medium and be like, that looks weird. That person doesn't look like a person, or, their nose is off, because we're so used to seeing other people that little microscopic details that are just barely off look like glaringly obvious mistakes to the human eye. When you're drawing animals, we don't see animals as often. And so if some things are off, proportions are off, a lot of people can't tell the difference. And so I think it made me feel like a better artist when I drew animals, because I didn't look as bad compared to when I drew people. And that just kind of stuck until I got really good at animals. So how did you draw dinos? I think that would be neat because I struggle with dinos. Yeah, I can probably do that. Do you own any pets? Yes, I do. I have my dog Quigley. I'll call him in here. You guys can see him. I've put him in a video before, but let me grab him really quick. Quigley, come here. He's coming. Yeah, so come here, buddy. Yeah. This is my dog Quigley. He's oh man, he's half German Shepherd, half Malamute. He's a big boy. He's only a year old. But yeah, he's a good dog. He's awesome. Love him. Love dogs. All right, down. So he's a good boy. Come up here. Okay. Jeez. Right after I tell everyone you're a good boy. Anyways, yep. Hair everywhere now. Yep, that's my dog. That's the only pet I have right now. Animals, birds, and dinosaurs. All right, a lot of requests for that. Are you into using drawing as a form of storytelling? Comics and manga. Maybe a tutorial on that. Also tutorial on environments or characters, genre, aesthetic, fantasy, horror, cyberpunk. Okay, cool. Yeah, so personally, I like drawing, but I wouldn't even say that drawing is my passion of like, oh, I just love drawing so much and so it fuels me. I just really like it. I would say what my real passion would be storytelling and, creating really cool worlds. And I've always felt like drawing and painting were like the easiest way for me to convey that, was to tell that story. And I think that, the only problem, I tried to make a comic book, and maybe it will happen again in the future, but I just could not stand drawing the same thing over and over and over again. It drove me crazy. I would more like to write a book with a lot of illustrations, like something like Dinotopia almost, where it's like, here's pictures of what I'm talking about. I think that would be more up my alley. Because yeah, man, I just, after like the third page, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot draw this same thing that many times. Like it is too much. Yeah, let's see. Oh, and then you want to do tutorials on these other things. Yeah, I could do that. I'm not sure how good I could be at doing the different aesthetics like fantasy, horror, but I could take a crack at it, see what comes up. Let's see. Yep, my dog's cute. And my brother Quentin said, you sexy. Thanks, Quentin. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call it for today. I think about 30 minutes is good for live stream. If there's more demand in the future, we can start going longer. But I got to go do some other stuff today. But you know what? That was really fun. I'm excited to keep doing these in the future. And next time we'll get something set up so I can be drawing while I do this, and you guys can ask me questions. I think that'll be a little bit more fun and entertaining. So once again, thanks, guys. If you didn't watch my videos and take my courses, I wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff I do. So I'm super grateful for all of your support. And if you haven't taken my Udemy courses, go check it out. It's on sale right now, or there will be soon for Black Friday. For like a week or two before Black Friday, all the courses go on sale. The bedroom setup, yeah, my office. Thank you. Got to have a good place to work. So the next live stream is going to be next Friday, same time, 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I think I'm going to do the same time every week. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate your support, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.